Now, I don't think it's crazy to think that there could be a Nintendo Direct coming up soon, as we had the Indies events, 2 of them in the span of almost a week. And then we have this mobile cell phone game Direct that I guess went over okay. I'm not sure. I don't know how many people actually watched it, but it seemed like some people were excited for it. And then, of course, we hear people wanting the next big Nintendo Direct. September, mid-September is when we had it last year. I believe it was on the 13th. And that's when we had actually quite a bit of stuff revealed, including the big ones like Doom and Wolfenstein 2. Both of those were shown there, with Doom, of course, coming out a couple months later in November, within a week of Skyrim. So Bethesda dropped 2 bigger games in the span of a week in November. So it seems like we're kind of coming up on that point in time where we would expect to see Nintendo Direct and get more information about games that probably are coming up in this year and then probably into 2019. And Nintendo's even told us that they haven't shown us everything yet for 2018. So that pretty much tells us, oh, we're going to announce some more stuff. We see Diablo. We hear about the new Super Mario Bros. Deluxe game that could be showing up here and probably releasing this year. But when would we see this Nintendo Direct? Well, rumors have been going around for a little while, kind of behind the scenes, and it seems like the date that has been getting thrown around a lot, and now it's kind of spilled onto the internet. It seems like this is a date that is coming up a lot with a lot of different sources and different places and everything. So it seems like this date of September 6th might actually be correct. So I started getting a lot of messages during the Spawncast and even after the Spawncast when Nate from Direct Feed Games, which the link for his channel is actually down in the description, if you go check out what he's doing over there with literally direct feed footage, so you can see games just straight up and graphical comparisons and everything when they're coming out, newer games. You can check that out down below. But he did make mention towards the end of the Spawncast that there would be a Nintendo Direct coming up in the next 14 business days or so. People are crazy right now for a Nintendo Direct of some kind or something.
Yeah, I think September with Directs and, I think directly something in September is going to directly happen within the next 14 business days.
Next 14 business days.
Another Nindy showcase. Oh, I cannot wait for them.
I wouldn't be surprised if like a deluxe thing shows up.
And naturally, when that happened, the chat went flying. People were trying to figure out what he was talking about and everything. But that got the conversation going heavily on Twitter over the next 24 to 48 hours or so, where people were sending me messages and everything. And there was, so I've been kind of talking about a September Direct for a little while now, assuming that there was a September Direct coming up because there are a lot of things going around in the background. And September 6th seems to be a date that has been coming up. There have been leakers now, people who were talking about the Smash Bros. Leaks, and some of the stuff was right, some of it wasn't, but they did get some stuff right. I know Simon Belmont was thrown around big time in some of these leaks, whether it was on 4chan or even Game Facts or Game FAQs. But this was actually from a user there saying, the Direct is September 6th. It's not just for online, since I know Squeenix are showcasing some old games. I know nothing about a Smash newcomer, but it's unlikely there won't be one. This is based entirely on my own prediction. If I'm hilariously wrong in 3 days' time, I encourage you to laugh in my face. So there we go. Now we have someone we can go blame, right? There you go. You can go over the message boards and yell at them and laugh in their face, apparently. But like I said, I have been curious about this date for a little while now, and now I see this kind of showing up on the internet, and I kind of went around and trying to corroborate this as best as I could, and it seems like September 6th keeps coming up. So that's a Thursday. That's actually this Thursday, so in a couple days, which tells me we would find out pretty quickly if this was correct or not. I do think the first half of September makes sense for a Direct, as it did last year, and it does this year, as we know a few games that they're going to probably have to announce that they want them to come out this year, and they're not all going to be like megatons, but if something like Square Enix shows up there, right, and they have some older games, because they did talk about during their Final Fantasy 30th anniversary tour that they were doing, that they have a large back catalog of games they'd like to start utilizing, kind of show up with, and they've moved a lot of games to mobile devices that are already set up to run on ARM and everything that could probably be ported over without too much issue to the Switch. I'm thinking like Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger. These are all games that would show up, probably not for like full price, obviously, they'd be like 15, 20 bucks, but they would sell fairly well, and it would be probably an easy thing to just kind of drop in there and just sell, and of course Square would make some pretty good money from it. Now we've also seen other ones like Final Fantasy IX and stuff show up on mobile. I'd be curious if they would be willing to move those over, considering those have only been on PlayStation platforms. PC, of course, is open, so you don't really point to that and say that's this their system or that system. It's always been on like PlayStation systems, so that would be an interesting one to see come over. I would look personally more towards the older ones, as those seem to just be kind of flying around now on different systems. So maybe like a Final Fantasy VI, a Chrono Trigger. I think people would be pretty excited for that. Now the other question is, what else would be there? We know that new Super Mario Bros. Is pretty much locked in at this point. That's going to be shown. I'm curious if that's like a big cornerstone of this Direct. I would hope not. I would hope they'd have some other stuff to show up. Maybe a surprise or two that would really catch people off guard, like Doom and Wolfenstein. That definitely caught people off guard. Maybe a bigger, AAA big budget game from a third party. Like Bethesda seems very on board with the Switch, maybe a Prey or a Fallout. Like if Fallout 3 New Vegas, or well, not New Vegas, they don't really like New Vegas that much, but like 3 or 4 showed up and they were like, it's out in November, people would probably get fairly excited for having a portable version of a Fallout or a portable version of something like Prey. Dishonored, maybe, that's another one. I'm just thinking of things that Bethesda might be willing to move over to the Switch that they could make work. Dishonored's probably one. I'm curious about Prey, and I'm curious about Fallout 4, because Fallout 4 has a hard time on consoles as it is. I mean, it's already broken, so if it's still broken when it goes to the Switch, it's, kind of business as usual for consoles, but still, that would be something that would be really cool. And then, of course, it's hard to say what other first-party games might be ready, because they might want to kind of spill over into 2019 and talk a little bit about that. Maybe we get a Daemon X Machina kind of a release date. That would be cool. Maybe it's like in February, and they just say, hey, it's available this time. We already know Travis Strikes Again isn't coming out till January, so you can pretty much start trying to guess what could show up there, and I encourage you guys to do so in the comments, because even if this date turns out to be wrong or something, it's pretty clear at this point that there is probably a Direct showing up in September, as they want to tell us about some of the 2018 games, more than likely like a new Super Mario Bros. And then definitely that online service, because I assume we have to hear about it soon, since the second half of September is literally 2 weeks away at this point. So we have to find out something. Maybe they just kind of talk about it very quickly, tell us an exact release date, like it's launching this day, and if you want to learn more information about it, go to this webpage, and here's a large spreadsheet of information, and here are the other 10 NES games that we keep talking about we haven't told you about yet. There you go, 20 NES games, cloud saves, maybe some extra little things thrown in there, and there you go, $20 a year. I think we just need a lot of transparency with this online service, at least a little before it comes out. I don't want to get to like, let's say it's coming out like the 28th, and then on the 27th they tell us all about it. I'd rather not have that. I'd rather it be pretty straightforward. Give us a place to go to learn more after like a couple minutes of explanation, and I think that would work fine for the online service. And finally, the one good thing about this is it's not going to take long to figure out if this is incorrect. See, if it's happening Thursday, they would have to tell us about it tomorrow, like tomorrow or Wednesday, right? So we only have to wait like 48 hours to figure out if this is happening. They're not going to announce it on the 6th that morning and say, tune in 3 hours. They would probably tell it to us tomorrow. They probably wouldn't say anything today, because it is a holiday here in North America and everything, the US, for Labor Day. So I don't think it would be today, but tomorrow makes a lot of sense. And of course, we already know Nintendo America, or just Nintendo in general, they schedule their uploads or their tweets on Twitter, and that's why you get that classic, reset the clock meme at this point, because most of us know that at the top of every so many hours or something, they will post something. So yeah, you can get in on that, I guess. You can reset the clock. We can find out, because this is something that's kind of coming up now, and I think you're going to see more of these rumors pop up over the next 12 hours or so. And we're going to get to that point where you're on forums like Game FAQs, Reset Air, and other places where they are doing that thing again, where they reset the clock. I hope Nintendo actually messes with everyone. That would actually be fun, because last time they did all that stuff where they even lit the Chibi Robo guy on fire and everything. Why not? Let's have some fun. It does, at least right now, from everything I'm seeing, everyone I've talked to, every source and everything, September 6th actually seems correct. It's still rumor wave, guys. Nintendo hasn't said anything, but I guess keep your ear to the ground, because you might see it pop up on Twitter from Nintendo saying get ready for, I don't know, 20 minutes, 25 minutes of new games and stuff specifically for the Switch. Just be ready. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for Rumor Wave today. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you liked it, dislike it if not. And I want to hear from you. What games would you want to see at the Nintendo Direct? Even if it's not on the 6th, like I said, probably first half of September, we can probably rest assured that it is happening at some point. September 6th is pretty... It's pretty specific. So if it's happening there, great. We don't have to wait long. But what game would you like to see announced there? Or what would you like to see announced for the online service? Whether it's maybe part of those 10 NES games that haven't been shown yet. Maybe they just rifle through them in a sizzle reel and maybe there's one you wanted on there. Let me know about that. Or maybe you have some crazy third-party theory as to who would be showing up with a third-party game. I mean, we just talked about Bethesda because that's who we know at this point, but I guess anyone with the Switch's sales could show up. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.